being here. It's great to have the teams. Great to have almost 40 participants, or around 40 participants the last 3 days. Wonderful to struggle together through slight contracting issue. Not to be, messed up by that, but keep working. Appreciate the judges being here. We're going to ask the judges to introduce themselves in just a minute. You guys know the batting order. But just as a quick reminder, the judges have this sheet too. We're going to start with Chameleon. When you're called up here, well, first of all, let me just tell you, this is going to be live streamed, Fred, is that right? On Instagram. So in a minute, there's going to be a QR code. Technological wizard that I am, I know what a QR code is. There's going to be a QR code. If you want to grab it, send it to family members, you can, but it's going to be live streamed, so especially don't do anything you don't want known in public, because it's going to be known in public. When you're called up here as a team, please come up here, get settled in. Professor Fred will be in charge of your presentations. He'll make sure they're loaded up. He'll make sure the volume's right. He'll get the 10-minute clock set. 10-minute timer's in the back of the room, so it's in your vision. If you have concerns about 10 minutes, just understand you're going to get the hook. You got 10 minutes to present. We will allow the judges to ask questions for 5 minutes. I'll be the judge timekeeper and tell them when they've got time for just one more question. Timer will start when you start talking. So you get up here, you get settled in. You just get settled in. Video's loaded. Your presentation's loaded. The clicker, just as a reminder, the down button. The down button is forward. That seemed to be tripping people up during practice. The down button means forward. All right? Students, soldiers, do you have any questions before we get started? Yes, ma'am?
Is it going to be posted for people that aren't unable to watch it live?
Yeah, we'll get a link and we will post it. We will send it out to you. Again, I'm such a technological wizard, I could explain it to you, but I couldn't understand it for you. I don't know how we do it, but somehow we're going to get you the link, I promise. That you'll have it for, forever and ever. Any other questions? So after you finish, we have 7 teams. After the judges have a grading rubric, which you're all familiar with. Once all 7 teams have finished, the judges and some of our team will go next door. Participants, you will stay here. You will complete a survey. You will actually get to vote on some other awards. Then the judges and I will come back in here. We'll award the prizes. And then you're off for the weekend. All right. So with that, I'd like to ask the judges if they would just stand and briefly introduce themselves. First, Colonel Meek, would you do this?
Colonel retired Stephen Meek, retired out of the Fort Cavazos area. While I was an information operations officer. My last job was the Deputy Chief of Staff for the 3rd Armored Corps, and now I work at the A&M Cybersecurity Center.
Colonel Dennis Weaver, I'm the current Cyber EW Chief at 3rd Armored Corps at Fort Cavazos. I'm a Cyber EW officer by trade.
Colonel Clint Tracy, I'm the G3 Innovation Chief for the 3rd Armored Corps.
Captain Justin Backscheider, I'm an infantry officer by trade, and I work with Colonel Tracy at the 3rd Armored Corps Innovation.
Contracting guru, magician.
Howdy, Ian Cash, class of 17. Jim Donnell has helped serve as a mentor for me as I started up 3 different businesses, and I guess I'm here to balance out the private sector of things. Looking forward to it.
It's a public-private partnership. Listen, before you get started, you have worked your tails off the last 3 days. You've already won. Regardless of how this plays out, you've already won. You've grown as a person. You've worked as a team in ways that, I don't know about you, I'm always impressed. Because one of the hardest things to do in a immersive design experience like this is to come together as a team. Nobody wins as a group of individuals. Nobody. No sport, no competition. It takes a team. You've done a great job of doing that. You've come up with some really fascinating solutions. And again, the Malloy team, we really appreciate all the work you've done. So with that, I'd like to ask Team Chameleon to come up and get settled in and ready to start. is full. Down is full. So just get settled in. Keep this here. Fred, you also have the lights, right? So another thing that'll happen, just so you're not surprised by this and think we have a power outage, we will turn Professor Fred will dim the lights for the video so that everybody can see them a little bit better.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are Team Chameleon, and welcome to our presentation.
Thermal imaging has been an avenue to detect hidden objects past the current camouflage barrier. While our recent battles haven't exactly had many enemies using thermal capabilities, modern combat provides an opportunity to learn from the mistakes and successes of others. In regards to thermal imaging, the application of thermal imagery with unmanned aircraft systems combines to create a deadly combination which can directly target large military assets. The heat signature given off by these assets is not easily hidden and has been capitalized on during U.S. training exercises for soldiers to develop a better plan of defense. For Chameleon Kits, this means innovating new solutions to increasingly complex problems. Our recent research in camouflage technology has been looking at how to better avoid detection from high-end thermal imaging by reducing heat signatures by 95%. We are seeking to present a modular solution which can be applied to countless assets across the military. In the ever-evolving landscape of modern warfare, the ability to conceal and protect our forces is paramount, and it is up to us to develop the next big solution.
Thermal imaging. Thermal imaging uses infrared radiation to create an image on a screen. Or in simpler terms, the camera can track and compare the temperatures of the ambient temperature and the temperature of, say, the human body or a piece of equipment that the Army is using. On normal occasions, we use camouflage to conceal ourselves from the enemy, using camouflage in terrain and whatnot. Because of this, when we have thermal imaging brought into that mix, it becomes a much more difficult problem to solve when we're trying to conceal our heat from ourselves or our equipment. In recent times, we have seen adversaries use unmanned drones with thermal imaging and payloads to track and locate command nodes and attack them relentlessly. Because of this, our solution, the Chameleon Kit, will reduce our thermal image on our equipment.
So, prior to the Chameleon Kit becoming the solution to y'all's problem, we first needed to identify our left and right range bands. So, what are our design requirements? Design requirements, it needs to be lightweight. Right? It needs to be able to be deployed with no more than 2 people. Each panel is roughly 10 to 15 pounds. It needs to be quickly and easily deployed. Cutting our time on target for other current options that we have with the camo nets and the oil cans by half. It needs to be modular. The military has an array of assets and vehicles ranging from all different sizes and shapes. It needs to be versatile and able to adjust to every one of those. It needs to be radar conducive. Right? It cannot affect the operations of our radar systems downrange. And it needs to solve the most crucial problem that we have, and that is to reduce our IR and thermal footprint.
During our experiment and application of these materials, we went with the consideration of CamelNets, applying CamelNets to the outer layer of our product, which would give us a concealment for, during daylight or any type of environment we find ourselves in. The carbon steel is the structure that we go with. It would be the skeleton that would shield everything up and be able to keep everything together. Aerogel would be able to keep the heat inside, hold it long enough to be able to be transferred to a different location as a decoy. Ceramic fiber, that's what's going to be in the interior of our product. Silicone is the base element for everything. It would hold our aerogel all together.
So the solution to our problem is to create the Chameleon Kit. So the Chameleon Kit has 3 key features. The first one are modular panels that are able to fold up and collapse and fit into whatever storage box that you would need to transport them in. They come 4-piece in the kit, and we also have a tarp. Both these materials are made up of the silicone, the ceramic fiber, and the aerogel. So on the outside, we have a camouflage net that will conceal it from the naked eye or any cameras from these drones. The next key feature of the Chameleon Kit is the fan adapter. So we have the fan adapter here, which will connect to the back of the Sentinel radar's fan. And whenever it does that, it'll be able to blow hot air out and away through 50 meters of modular silicone-coated pipe. So you're able to attach the tubing and move the heat 50 meters away to an empty field, for example. And in that case, the drones will then target an empty field instead of your radar system, potentially using their munitions on something that is not even there and saving your radar system.
So the results part. So we have conducted thermal simulations on SolidWorks software. So the results finding that the without Chameleon Kit and with Chameleon Kit and the ambient temperatures. So our main aim is to reduce the temperatures through IR imaging. So without Chameleon Kit in summer and winter conditions, and especially in summer condition, without the kit, the temperature that produced by our radar systems is around 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And after installing our solution, the temperature signatures will reduce to around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a 31% reduction in heat signatures, and it is close to 10 degrees Fahrenheit in comparison to the ambient temperatures. And in winter conditions, that's a 37% reduction in heat signatures, and it's like approx 5 degrees Fahrenheit close to ambient temperature. And without Chameleon Kit, the infrared radiations, so the IR imaging shows a dark red spots if the temperature is high, and if the temperature is comparatively low, and it will show a bright blue image. And in thermal imaging, it shows a dark white image for the hot spots and a grayish color for the normal ambient temperatures. And with Chameleon Kit, we can see the IR imaging and thermal imaging differences. So the drones can't detect the IR imaging hotspots. So since we are decreasing the temperatures of the radar systems, so there is no chance of drones to detect IR imaging on thermal imaging.
These air defense radar systems are currently operating while vulnerable, which we've seen from modern combat. The Chameleon Kit began as a solution to the radar system. However, we've integrated enough adaptability to be accepted by any military asset that needs it. As drones continue to advance their imaging technology, we too are advancing the solutions that we come up with. Of all solutions that we've considered, the Chameleon Kit has all 5 design requirements. Lightweight, easy to assemble, modular, heat image reducing, and radar conducive. The Chameleon Kit is the premier solution to protecting military assets from thermal imaging.
Okay, judges, questions?
I got a couple that I'll start with. What other solutions did you consider, or did you just go straight to what you showed us here?
So our other solutions that we also considered for a stopgap until we could make the official production was that you could double layer the camo netting and add vegetation. And that will slightly reduce your IR signature, but it is not a significant enough increase, especially whenever you're looking top down from the drone's point of view. So we really decided to come up with this solution instead.
Okay, and then my second question to that are, all of the components that you showed us here on the table, are those currently in the Army inventory, or is that something that we would have to go out and purchase?
So it would take around 2 weeks to fully set up these materials and be able to produce them. The only issue would be getting the aerogel, because that's only from one certain contractor, but we would be able to work out an arrangement with them.
Okay, but they're not, all those components are not currently in the Army inventory or supply system.
All of them but the aerogel are.
Okay, got it.
I've got one. When you said that you were going to move all the hot air out, was that with 50 feet of tubing, or was that a fan that was moving at 50 feet, or?
So yeah, that's the fan adapter that would connect to 50 feet of tubing. The fan will blow the hot air, and then it'll go through the silicone coated tube, which is invisible to IR by the silicone coating.
So how did you come up with the number of 50 feet?
So when something is detonated, like you throw a grenade or something, you have an area of about 25 meters that it would go up by. So by moving the heat 50 meters away, we have that safe zone or safe space to be able to protect equipment or personnel. So we did not create this just for this machinery, we created it for personnel as well.
I'll have a follow-up on that one, Steve. So what type of munitions are you trying to protect that node that you're using this concealment chameleon kit? What are you trying to protect them from?
So, as we've seen in Russia and Ukraine, adversaries are using small, like cheaply made drones that are outfitted with a thermal imaging camera, and they can usually drop a little hand grenade or some sort of like a mortar or something, and that's where we're trying to conceal from the eyes of the drone, so that way the drone will miss the area completely and possibly go after the decoy of the tube and the heat moving out and away.
Are they also using those as ISR for artillery?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what's the blast radius of that artillery?
Could be anywhere. It's much wider than a grenade.
Yeah. Okay. So could you extend that hose out to get that further away outside that blast radius?
Yes, sir. You could add more. You could connect more pieces together to lengthen it.
Maybe one more question, judges, if anybody has one.
Can you say again just the setup time required, and then with additional tubing, what is the added time to set that up?
So the setup time is right at 5 minutes. The tubing, I'll just show you. Tubing is just as simple as plug and play. So as long as it takes you to walk out for however long you need, but the standard kit only comes with 50, but you can also, you can easily just add on as much as you need. So however long it takes a Joe to run from here to there, that's the only time you're gonna lapse over. So.
But in the current construct, you have to be stationary first and then roll it out.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Team Chameleon. Okay, triple Delta. Take your judges, complete your sheets. I'll be about to pick them up.
Not gonna need
Maybe up just a little bit for that. Okay, we're going to give the judges just a minute to complete their grading sheets.
sorority here on campus that might take next.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm about to start. One second. Just wait. Thank you. Rounds, they even have an application. I gotta look at.
Spartan base, this is Spartan 01. Radio check. Spartan 01, this is Beastmaster. Say again your last, you're weak and unreadable.
The four-man special operations team was searching for Al-Qaeda fighters in the rugged terrain of Kunar province on Tuesday, when the commandos came under heavy fire. They called for help, but it came in broken and unreadable. No more buts. With APE, dismounts can rapidly improve standard comms to overcome challenges of terrain, distance, and weather.
Say again! 8, 3, 9, 6, 4, 5, 7!
When American soldiers have operational comms, there is no battle they cannot win. Communication on the battlefield is life or death. APE will guarantee our warfighters accomplish the mission and return home.
Think about the most important phone call that you've ever had to make and not being able to reach anybody. Lieutenant Murphy had to make a phone call like that, and he came in unreadable. Communication in the Army is one of the most important things that we have to do. Our troops need an effective and efficient way to communicate on ground. Because our current systems are not portable for dismounted troops, and the ones that are portable, they're unreliable.
So given that our current equipment is unreliable in terms of functionality and portability, it makes sense that we set design requirements that addresses those issues. For example, in terms of portability, quick setup times and teardown times can make the difference in whether or not a unit receives life-saving information, or teardown times can make the difference of whether or not you still have your piece of equipment and can maintain operational effectiveness after your position has been assaulted. And in terms of continuing with portability, we want something that won't overburden our soldiers, won't weigh them down, fatigue them. So through our customer interview process, we found that it's preferable that we have an additional 6.5 pounds of weight added. Also, during our customer interview process, we found that it would be preferable to have the setup time be 5 minutes and teardown time around 3 minutes, because currently OEs are set up in an average around 15 minutes, which is that's unacceptable. And the field expedient OEs, which are supposed to be even faster than regular OEs, our customer did not even provide a setup time for that because it is so complicated. It requires mathematical functions to be able to set up in the field, which is just untenable. On top of that, for more reliability, we want it to be something that's simple enough that any soldier, regardless of their MOS, can set it up or operate it. And it also continue with reliability, that it should be able to operate in a variety of environments, whether there's vegetation or not. And
so keeping in mind these daunting design requirements, we at Triple Delta decided to tackle the problem. So to improve VHF comms, there's really only two things you can do at the tactical level. Either increase your height for your line of sight of your antenna, or increase your power amplitude, or amped out.
Now, I, as a light fighter, don't want to carry extra batteries, so I need to figure out a way to optimize the batteries that I do already have in my pack. So with those in mind, we proposed 3 solutions. Utilizing a weather balloon to lift an antenna above a tree line and provide a higher line of sight. Utilizing a man-portable, quick, erect antenna mast to also increase that line of sight while requiring some assembly, keeping in the light fighter pack. Or utilizing a directionally focused VHF antenna. We explored down each of these options, looking at them in research, and we identified that if we utilized a directionally focused VHF antenna, that would require the receiver at the CP node trying to be reached would also have to have a directionally focused VHF antenna, and this would propagate to a total restructuring of the Army communications infrastructure, which gets a little bit off the scope of the solution we're trying to solve. We can't fight tonight with that solution, so we have to throw that one out. Then, looking at the weather balloon, it's quick, it's easy to put up, it's very lightweight, it's awesome. You can erect it in 30 seconds and send it up, and you can get as high as you want. Your only limiting factor is your cable. However, I don't know about you, but if I'm a scout in that OP, I don't want to have a giant balloon over top of me, telegraph my position to the enemy. I don't want to expose myself, so we start to see some flaws. Also, it can be shot down, it can be popped, I can't use it again once it's up there, it can hit a tree branch, there's a whole variety of factors. So, with that in mind, we have to get rid of that one as well. So we really dug into the quick erect antenna mast, and that's where we came up with the idea for the antenna portable extender, or the APE.
The APE is essentially a portable communication solution that we've created. The model that you see here is a 1/3 scale model that would fit into a assault pack that every soldier carries. With the base antenna, we are able to have continued communication while carrying, and when you need extended range, you can quickly use the included masts to increase your mast height to a maximum of 16 feet in total. With this, you're able to increase the amount of communication that you're able to have. We've also ergonomically placed the components such as the battery and radio, so it's easier to carry over longer periods of time.
So gentlemen, I know when you look at this picture, if you consider walking into one of our Connexes in our motor pool, you know you wouldn't find anything like this. However, what you would find is a 119 Fox bag, and the poles to your SICUP tents, the hollow poles that can extend. You would find the components to your OE254, some Whiskey 2 antenna cable, and then the antenna adapter that could attach to our long whip antennas. And so while this is our long-term solution, Colonel Taylor, or Tracy, what I'm telling you is you could go back to Fort Cavazos today, you could grab those components, and maybe after block leave, maybe not today, you could tell the soldiers of all your dismounted teams, hey, I need you to grab that 119 Fox bag, route some Whiskey 2 antenna cable through it, apply this adapter, and attach it to your to your long whip antenna. And that would provide you double the mast height, being able to penetrate reach over the slope of a mountain or hill. You could pull it up through vegetation as we do with the 292 jungle antenna mast. So this is what we consider fight tonight solutions on site. This capability is readily there. You could do it now. And so what we know is that our dismounts right now are averaging about 800 meters with the antenna they have, which in a fight where dispersion is king and the way we are looking at getting after survivability, it's imperative that we increase that range. And so the APE does that for us. And so the question is, the impact is that when our troopers are able to communicate, they're able to bring the full force of American firepower to bear. The key difference between Lone Survivor and 12 Strong is that one of those individuals is able to communicate. And when they were able to communicate, they were able to bring that firepower. And that's what we need to be able to provide our troopers. And so the question is, are you prepared to provide this capability to our soldiers? Give them the comms they need. Make sure that the next time a Lieutenant Murphy keys the net, that communication goes through, and we're able to bring that firepower. Are you ready to invest in APE today?
Okay, thanks. Judges, you have the floor.
Yes, sir.
So for the extended mast, there's no more power requirements. Like all you need is just more metal in the air.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a solution.
And so the reason it's not already done is it's really something as simple as that adapter. When we disconnect our long whip antenna from our radio, the ability to just attach a wire to that and get it higher, there's an adapter that's required. And our solution essentially runs the cable through those poles, has the adapter on the end, and now you're able to disconnect that long whip antenna from the radio and get it higher, which improves the line of sight problem, or solves the line of sight problem.
So there's no additional things that we would have to buy to be able to organize something like this and utilize the media.
To organize it, you could take a Pelican case and cut out the foam. And so, in short, no. The marketable solution obviously would be what we've designed, and it would come purpose-built. But 100% with the equipment we have in any formation on Fort Cavazos, you could design a product that would meet these requirements, sir.
Yes, sir. So the difference between this and what we could do today is, one, this is going to look a lot neater. Two, this is going to have a bill of materials you can order parts against. You're not cannibalizing an OE254 when you're doing your layouts and your supply as a commander. I'm sure it's a nightmare to do a layout and actually get your inventory. This would be an organized system. You can order parts against it and have an actual item on your MTO that you're required to carry in addition to your OE254s.
How much additional range do you give with this compared to current dismounted set?
Yes, sir. So that's principally related to the value. What it really gives you is to get further line of sight. And so the 800 meters is principally related to the fact that they're not employing the Jungle 292 because you have to put the mouth formula in. You have to have your cables exactly the right length to talk on that frequency. And so by getting the additional height, you're now, it's hard to give you an exact answer because it's the Army Med TC dependent, but if the next ridge is only 600 meters away, that's as far as you're getting. But if the next ridge is 1,200 meters away, you're getting that 1,200 meter distance. Yes, sir.
Does that represent like what the kit would actually look like, that height, or is this just a demonstration?
So currently with the setup right now we have is it's a 1/3 scale. So as of right now, the current rods would be 1/3 of the height that you would actually get.
And that's not all of the poles erected.
Yes.
That's half.
If you'd like to play with it, we have everything inside.
Judges, anything else? All right, thanks, Triple Delta. Next we have RF Times. Come on up. Get settled in while the judges finish up their grading. Don't bypass the win. You like saying what?
Yes, it is. Also, the box has to be green because Army.
Extend your.
Just 1 second, team. Let's give the judges a couple more minutes. Slow over that side.
Thank you. waiting on this case.
You're good. You're good to go.
All good? Okay.
I'm gonna make a call to cure her.
You ain't making no fucking comms with that sat phone, Mikey.
Look at me. I'm gonna make the call.
No.
Current solutions are heavy, time-consuming, and complicated.
Soldiers require reliable and effective communications. If you can't talk, you can't win.
Dismounted VHF communications have insufficient range and fidelity.
Our solution is lightweight, portable, rapidly deployable, and modular.
With readily available components and our new configuration, soldiers can complete their missions, fight tonight, and win.
All right, good afternoon, Colonels, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. We are Team RF Times, and we want to talk to you about the small modular antenna receiver transmitter, the SMART. Now, anybody that's been in the Army for more than 5 minutes knows exactly this problem. You go out, you're on a mission, and what happens? Your time to do your radio check or call in or say, hey, I passed phase line, insert whatever it is right then. And what do? You get one of three things. You either get, Roger, and then they continue on your mission. We would love it if that was 100% of the thing. That is unfortunately in the minority. Usually what you get is, say again your last, you coming in broken and unreadable. And then it goes back and forth with that for 20 minutes until the next check-in because you can't understand each other, right? And then, the worst of all, static. You call up your update, you hear nothing back. They can't hear you, they don't know you're even trying to call, and vice versa. The way to fix that is add range, add quality, add power to your solution. But if you're on a dismounted patrol, the issue is that to fix that with the current solution, you have two choices. Retransmission sites, which requires manning and security elements, additional equipment, radios, to be at that retransmission site, or you gotta lug a 40-pound OE bag and split it amongst your fire team, and nobody wants to add 40 extra pounds of weight, especially if you're on a long dismounted patrol. So, let's fix that problem.
So, who are our main customers? Soldiers. After interviewing several of our customers, we found out that there are four major problems in our current solution. Our VHF has a problem with weight. It is heavy, and hence it reduces the portability of our soldiers on site. Next, the range. Due to bad terrain, it is limited and cannot work efficiently for transmission of radio transmission. Next, power consumption. Though we know that increasing batteries or power consumption would help increase the range, however, it would increase the weight and hence compromise the portability of our soldiers. Last, versatility. It also is not efficiently versatile according to our major problems. So, taking these factors into consideration, we have realized there are five major requirements for our basic VHF system. We've realized we need the antenna to be over 10 kilometers in height to ensure good, efficient transmissions of a radio system. Next, it should not compromise with the weight. We need to ensure that it is less than 10 lb in weight. Next, our system should increase the range above 10 kilometers for good and efficient transmission. We should also take into consideration the battery consumption to ensure that our battery operates over 6 hours continuously and does not compromise in weight. Also, it should be deployable in less than 5 minutes to ensure that our soldiers are not easy targets.
So as we moved through this process and looked at the design requirements that we had, we came up with a few possible solutions. The first thing that we came to was considering aerial options, where perhaps we employed a balloon or a drone that could carry a transceiver and the antenna piece to a higher point. Unfortunately, we felt that there were security considerations with that, as, of course, placing something above your position can identify where you are to enemies, right? In addition to that, the drones and the components therein are large and cumbersome at times and need to be packed into specific kits to protect them, so they're also fragile. So with that set aside, we then moved on to options of a telescopic mast. Now, there are existing solutions for telescoping masts. Unfortunately, they are all very large and very heavy that are currently in production. When we looked at the idea of trying to scale it down to be a more man-portable system, then we would be sacrificing a lot of height and not gaining enough to make it worth that reduction. So finally, through doing research, we identified that there are actually several components that are readily available, commercial off the shelf, that if we combine them together into a package, into a smart kit, that we can solve these communications problems effectively through an amplifier, the roll-a-tube antenna, and by using an 8-foot whip antenna. So when we considered the design considerations and we ranked each of the possibilities in order, we identified that the smart kit met the top criteria in all of the categories except for one, and that one was in height. Obviously, the drone can fly higher and the telescoping can go higher, but when we weighed that against the consideration of safety in identifying our soldiers' locations in a combat environment, then we wanted to keep our height at least at a manageable level in order to ensure safety.
So breaking down the smart kit into its three main components. The first up is the amplifier. So the amplifier is only 1.5 pounds, but increases the wattage of the ASIP radio from 5 watts up to 20 watts. This increase in power allows us to utilize the maximum output of both of the antennas in the smart kit system. So next is the longer whip antenna. Current whip antennas are approximately 4 feet in length. The other whip antenna that already has an NSN is 8 feet in length. This can still collapse down into 2 feet, so it doesn't impose on soldiers' movements through rough terrain, but allows them that at short halts they can extend it up to 8 feet and get longer range. And as you can see, it uses 10 watts of power, so the 5 watts that the ASIP standardly uses does not utilize the full ability of the ASIP, of the antenna. Last but not least, the roll-a-tube integrated antenna mast. So this is a 3.5 meter or 11.5 feet. This is only 7 feet, but the ceilings can only go so high. So this, once condensed down and rolled up, is the size of a Coke can. So this would allow mass portability while also giving them extreme range. This can also be hoisted into a tree to even get further height. But to utilize it, it needs 20 watts of power. So once again, the amp gives us up to that 20 watts in order to get the full amount of range out of this antenna.
So what are we really gaining with the smart kit? Well, it has 2 modes as we mentioned. It has on the move, and it has on the halt, which is, stationary. So on the move, we mentioned this would be the smaller packs. This would only add 3.5 pounds to your pack. On the move, the smart kit doubles your antenna height and doubles your power output. And now that results in a very healthy 50% increase in range. That means that you go from 10 kilometers to 5 more kilometers, 15 kilometers total in transmission radius. Now 50% is a pretty good increase. 50 is great, but the at the halt numbers are even better. At the halt, we can quadruple the power output, we can triple the antenna height, and that gives us an astounding 100% increase in range. Takes us from 10 kilometers with just a 1523 web antenna to 20 kilometers with the smart kit. Or, 6.2 miles for people who understand English system better. So we told you today the solutions that we considered. We told you the criteria we evaluated those with, and we told you how the smart kit meets that criterion being easy to deploy, light, and compact. But the bottom line here is that today you can double the transmission radius of your teams by adding 8 pounds stacked in a box this size. And even better, you can fight tonight because everything is off the shelf and ready to purchase as soon as you walk out this door. Is there anything that's not clear?
Good job, guys. Okay, Judge.
said everything's commercially available, so what would the cost be for each one of these?
Yes, sir. So what we did was we reached out to each of the companies that we've talked about. First one is NSN, is the 8-foot whip antenna. We already have those probably on the shelf in every unit in Fort Cavazos and several other places, right? So that one's already available, widely used. NSN, so supply can get it pretty easily. There's replacements parts as well. The second part is the ADP amplifier. This one, so if you don't want to buy anything new, just use the vehicle amp. It'll be a little heavier, a little older. This one is compacted, it's lighter. That's why we're suggesting this one, because it fits better in the kit. That being said, we reached out to them to get a quote for them. They said depends on how many modules you're using, how many you're trying to order, whole 9 yards, right? So it all depends on contract negotiations, because Army math doesn't equal anyone else's math. But they are very responsive in their sales department. And the Rolla Tube as well. Different company, same result.
For the amplifier, are there
Yes.
any like considerations around heat? I mean, if you're using this on body and you're outputting 20 watts, you know, is that going to burn the person, or do they have to keep it hot body or anything like that?
No. So what they, can you go back to the slide with the amp on it? We've got is, this is actually the amp is just the black part of the box. That's Moly on the outside, so it allows you to strap it on the outside of anything, right? That uses the same Moly system that we use for everything. Ruck, assault pack, fighting load carrier, flick, body armor, what have you. So that gives you a little bit of space there, on top of the fact that it's got heat baffles already built into it.
And for the Rolla Tube, that already has an antenna in it, or you guys?
It is the antenna.
Yeah, but you have to assemble that together. That's how it comes.
So no, so it's an integrated antenna mast. So the antenna is integrated into the mast itself.
Just
so
off
it's
the
just
shelf.
that long rolling tube, and the whole thing is an antenna.
Excellent.
Just unsheathes itself, goes up, it unrolls in what? Would you say it was 2 seconds? Goes up in under 5 minutes, and that's with all connecting everything you need to, or lash it to a tree, or put guy lines out, or what have you.
How do you collapse?
Similarly to how you put it together, so essentially it has some couplers that you simply put around it to ensure that it holds its form when it's erect. And once you take the couplers off, then you basically just split it apart with your hands. And as you do that, it just rolls right back into form.
It's like a snap-on bracelet.
Exactly like a snap-on bracelet type thing. How those work.
The difference, of course, is you get this. You can have. There's 3 or 4 different sizes of this. The 11-foot one is the smallest of them, so it makes it easier to fit in packs. But they can go all the way up to the same size as an OE with much, much lighter weight, so that you don't have to I need 3 people to try to lift this thing, or 2 people to hoist it up wearing ACHs. No, it's 4 pounds, 4.5 pounds. They just, one person lifts it up and drops it down, and then opens it up and curls back up.
Get back to your charts real quick. Did you have a time up there for estimated time you could operate at if you're operating at 20 watts?
Yes, sir. So I don't know if it's on the slide directly, but the idea is we have 2 batteries. One's already in the radio, so if you get the amplifier, the weight considerations are on there for if you have to have a second battery, so you can maintain your same battery time span of use is the same. This just doubles your output. So the batteries themselves can output a lot more watts than the radio can handle, but adding the double battery helps you whenever you do increase the wattage.
The amplifier also automatically uses a kind of sleep mode setting, so it's not pushing full power at all times, only when it's sending or receiving a transmission.
Maybe one more if we have it.
By the way, these are all GSA stuff companies, so GPC cards.
Each of these are produced through GSA-approved contractors at this time. So,
all right, thank you, RF Times. Iron Maiden, you're next. I thought that was a rock band.
It is a rock band.
It is a rock band. My memory's not as bad as I thought.
he's got all these on his phone.
Go to the Take sir. Take sir.
Okay, Iron Maiden, whenever you're ready. Floor is yours.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. We are Iron Maiden Ballistic Structures. We are a company that is dedicated to saving people from munitions. We are here to talk to you today about our leading solution, the Iron Maiden. This product was specially designed to protect against drone attacks. Now let's meet the team. We have our advisor, Alexander Murray, which is sitting in the crowd with us.
I'm Saad Fategda. I'm Danny Hale. I'm Joshua Dario. I'm Juan Rojas.
And I'm Michelle Urbano.
Gentlemen, so the problem we're facing is drones. So drones have evolutionized warfare as it is. So drones have been used by non-state actors such as Al Qaeda, Boko Haram, Al Shabaab, or the Mexican cartels down the border. Then you have state actors versus another state actor, Ukraine versus Russia. So the deployment of it and the scalability of it has shifted the real estate we're fighting in. So therefore, our team, Iron Maiden, tried to resolve the issue at hand, and we came up with 3 efficient ways of providing carbon concealment to our troopers, and that is protection, portability, and efficiency. Protection. Well, our equipment not only protects against ammunition, but also against chemical warfare. That could be blister, nerve, agents. And also, portability. It's very tactical and weighs only 20 pounds. And you can put it inside a rock or outside a rock. And efficiency. You can construct our item in approximately 4 minutes. You can deconstruct it in 4 minutes. And approximately 2 soldiers can be actually tucked inside the equipment. And here we have video present to you our product, Iron Maiden.
In a rapidly changing world where conflicts escalate and threats evolve, a silent danger looms in the skies. Drone loads. Unmanned, stealthy, and lethal. The global shift towards drone warfare has transformed the battlefield, posing new challenges that demand innovative solutions. Introducing the Iron Maiden, an unparalleled defense against drone strikes. Unlike anything seen before, this emergency armored tent is engineered to shield and safeguard lives from the ever-present threat of drone attacks. This cutting-edge modular ballistic enclosure is engineered for swift setup and takedown, taking just 4 minutes. Designed to significantly boost ground troopers' survival rates in hostile environments, Iron Maiden offers unparalleled ease of use and compact portability. Its optimal structure ensures supreme cover and concealment, serving as a vital asset for both mounted and dismounted troops. With dual functionality for both above and subterranean use, this innovation is a must-have for enhancing soldier safety and combat effectiveness. In a world where the Russia-Ukraine conflict underscores the vulnerability of civilian populations, the need for innovative defenses like the Iron Maiden has never been more critical. The Iron Maiden is not just a tent. It's a beacon of safety, a refuge in the storm, ensuring that amidst chaos, lives can be safeguarded and communities protected. Because in times of crisis, protection isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity.
So in order to tackle this need statement, we came up with 5 solutions. These 5 solutions needed to be 5 things. It needed to be portable, it needed to be lightweight, it needed to have cover, it needed to be time efficient, and they also had to have the best items that the US can provide to us. After that, we ranked all these 5 solutions against each other, and we decided that the Iron Maiden was the best choice for us.
After quantifying each and every value, each and every criteria on a scale of 1 to 10, we summed up all of them and found that Iron Maiden had the highest effectiveness. Yet we still analyzed the other options to take what good was from them and what not to do. And so basically the bottom two options were the collapsible bunker, in which we tried to focus on one area, in any one that we tried to focus on one area too much. So in collapsible bunker, we tried to focus on absolute protection. And so a trade-off of that would just be lightweight and time efficiency, as it would be very heavy to carry around and it wouldn't be time efficient at all. And we want it to be useful for both mounted and dismounted troops. And so we tried to also come up with a protective poncho made out of Kevlar. However, despite it being lightweight and extremely portable, it had very little coverage. And we also tried two other ones, and it was like a panel system, which was a modular, transportable way to build whatever enclosure we like, and that wouldn't work either because it takes too much time to set up. However, we did take the modular component from that and decided to implement it in our Iron Maiden, as you'll see in the presentation.
The Iron Maiden is a modular solution that weighs 20 pounds. It consists of a quadrupod base, a rod, and also a top. The top has 3 layers: a Kevlar layer, a polyurethane foam layer, and a polycarbonate layer. The Iron Maiden can be set up as a tent in 4 simple steps. That is extending the rod, opening up the base, opening up the top, and then finally staking it to the ground. And that is able to protect 2 different soldiers above ground from enemy drone munitions. And thanks to its modular design, the top of the Iron Maiden can be used by itself to cover foxholes and also trenches.
So it can be used in 2 forms. So for above ground, we can use it for more of mounted troops, as in, like, they can afford to carry a more weighted structure, which is 20 pounds maximum. And so the mounted variant is more specialized for above ground usage. And so as y'all see in there's holes in the bottom of the structure which allow for you to stake the enclosure on the ground, which prevents the structure from blowing away by the blast radius. And so it's also detachable, in which the top can double as a foxhole cover. And as many of you know in the audience, foxholes are optimal for defending against bombs. However, the main weakness that they have is that if a drone flies right above it and drops a grenade in, you can't really do anything about that. So in order to defend against that, a foxhole cover with a pointed tip would allow for any sort of projectile dropped onto it to bump away. And that would also work for trenches and yeah. So for the material composition, on the outside, we have, on the bottommost layer, we have a carbon fiber frame, and that's the main skeleton of the structure, and it's telescopic. So that means it can compact into the size of just 4 water bottles stacked up upon each other. So that would be around this much. You could put it on a backpack because it's only 20 pounds, and it could be carried up to 2 soldiers because of its modular structure. One soldier can carry the base, that's 4 water bottles worth, and another soldier can carry the top, which can be another 4 water bottles worth. And the first part is a Kevlar weave, which is also sprayed by a sealant that protects against chemical agents. And so the Kevlar weave protects against projectiles and fragmentation from the bomb dropping, which protects the people inside. And then a polycarbonate paneling, and which is one of the most, so actually this is supposed to be full of paneling that's weaved together by Kevlar. However, due to the limitations of time, the prototyping is a little different. But yeah, so it's supposed to be polycarbonate paneling and then polyurethane foam, in which polyurethane foam is used by NASA actually on the bottom of the rockets to protect against very high heat things. So in the explosion, the people inside the enclosure will be shielded from the heat of the blast. Any questions?
Judges, any questions for Iron Maiden?
So, what size munitions do we think this will protect soldiers from in a dismounted environment?
So it will protect from around grenades and C4, but the problem is that there's no, currently there's no optimal solution to just keeping complete protection from bombs. This is more for risk management of the soldiers, as in the saving of a life may occur, but the soldiers will still probably incur some effects of the bomb.
Roughly how big was the enclosure when it's completely folded up? Not the support for it, but the actual, the tent itself.
Approximately be the size of a light fighter, sir.
Okay.
How many soldiers can fit?
2, sir.
2?
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned mounted use. Could you guys go into a little bit of detail? We spent a lot of time talking about dismounted use.
Yes, sir.
On a vehicle, how would this work?
The vehicle, sir, would be attached to a truck of a Humvee. And that would be the only way it would be utilized. That aspect. Also, it can be modified to fit on top of an LMTV as well.
Okay. And can you engage? If you're inside this thing, can you engage out?
Yes, sir. Unless there are chemical agents.
If I'm being shot at and I'm in this thing and I'm being shot at, not from above, from other force, I can shoot out and defend myself, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So you mentioned that you could potentially use that for a vehicle. How do you see mounting it on say a tank or a Bradley?
For the tank or the Bradley, sir?
You can put it on top of the structure in which soldiers can stand on. However, that's not the optimal intended usage of the product. It's more for on-the-ground troops.
So for all that layering that y'all have to do, is that nothing is already in inventory that's laid up with all that?
Every single thing is commercially available. You can go to on Amazon.com or any supply store. You can order that the polycarbonate paneling, but it won't come as paneling. You just need to cut it up, and carbon fiber that is also readily available to use.
Anything else, judges? Thank you, Iron Maiden. Good job. Okay, now it's time for Killian Innovations. Just one situation. Judges.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Killian Innovations, allow me to introduce myself, Mr. Graves,
Sergeant First Class Virgia, Mr. Baxter, Sergeant First Class Clark, Sergeant Young, First Lieutenant Peckman.
The time it took for us to introduce ourselves, about 15 seconds, is the time you would have to react after you heard the buzz of a drone in the air before this lands at your feet. Let me show you.
We must protect our nation's most valuable resource. While the brutality of war remains the same, it is evolving every day. Not only do ground troops have to fear bullets and artillery, but now they have a terrifying new threat: being hunted by barely visible drones with deadly payloads. Current solutions focus on defeating drones in the air. But how do soldiers protect themselves when these methods are insufficient? To save lives, this simple weapon of war requires a simple solution. Utilizing cutting-edge technology, Killian Innovations has created a lightweight, portable protection system to shield our soldiers from shrapnel injuries caused by these drones. Introducing the modular Kevlar poncho.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sergeant First Class Mejia, coming out of Fort Cavazos, Texas. I've been in the Army for 15 years. I've deployed to some of the worst places in the world: Iraq, Afghanistan. In Iraq, it was Mosul, Balad, Tikrit, as an Army Ranger with the 75th Ranger Regiment. And in Afghanistan, East Paktika Province with the historic 10th Mountain Division. I would rather face those same situations and experiences than face this new threat. This new threat makes me feel powerless as a platoon sergeant in being able to protect my soldiers. That is why I'm extremely proud to partner with Killian Innovations in presenting modular Kevlar poncho.
So we utilized 5 design requirements. Our first requirement was protective zone. Our initial problem statement asked that 2 people were protected, so 5 cubic feet was used, as that is the average volume of 2 human beings. Our next requirement that was used was weight. Our max weight was set at 100 pounds as, max weight was set at 100 pounds as customer research showed that, customer research showed
it's a 2-man lift.
A 2-man lift was needed for 100 pounds. In other words, 2 men were needed to lift it from point to point. Our third requirement was maximum energy. Shrapnel from a 60mm mortar carries about 2,725 joules of energy, which is slightly more than twice that of a 7.62 NATO round. As our current SOPI vests are only rated up to 7.62, this number was deemed imperative. Our next requirement was deployment time. Further customer research showed that 15 seconds was the ideal deployment time, as it is both rapid and in a normal human reaction time. And finally, our survival distance. Research has shown that soldiers have been survived blasts from 5 feet, so that this was set as our minimum parameter.
We evaluated several builds. We wanted them to uphold our company's mission and meet our design requirements. First, we had the Light Fighter Dome. It's a rigid deployable system that is capable of utilizing a unit's MTOW for its frame and its structure. Next, we have the Quick Cover. It's a sliding rail system that would be particularly effective in covering trenches and foxholes. And next, we have the Kevlar poncho, a lightweight, mobile ballistic mesh that is capable of holding soft armor plating in its pockets to protect your vital organs. In view of all these qualities, we've determined that the Kevlar poncho is the optimal solution for our problem.
Let me show you why we chose the Kevlar poncho. So first we have dimensions. The dimensions of the Kevlar poncho are small enough to be carried in your bag. It's foldable, and it is less than 15 pounds. So when you put 15 pounds on another soldier, that makes them be able to carry it with their kit and everything else on. This can be easily rolled up as, when you all get up, please. This can be easily rolled up just like a sleeping sack. When that happens, it can be tied off, and within 15 seconds, this can drop right down, and you can cover your face. The materials on this poncho can protect you from shrapnel wounds and concussions. The deployability of this, as I said, is 15 seconds. The Light Fighter Dome was close to 3, 4, 5 minutes, and it required 2 people. So if your battle buddy went down, you're now screwed. You're gonna get shrapnel injuries. The distance, like I said, 5 feet, that is what we needed, and it met that, along with the Light Fighter Dome and the quick cover. However, the poncho was more feasible to United States soldiers, and it can be mass produced. So it's not just, you know, tankers or you know, captains and things like that. It's going to be mass produced for everybody, and the cost per unit is only $2,100.
All right, so moving into the schematics of our production of the poncho. So first of all, each of these ponchos is going to be about a 4x6 foot of security. However, it is modular, so multiple soldiers' ponchos can be put together to provide a larger blanket of security for multiple soldiers. In addition, it's got a soft armor panel system. Basically what this does is allows soft armor plates similar to what is in the MSV body armor right now to be produced in a larger manner, more like a 1.5 foot sheet by 3 feet, and these would be protecting the vital organs, specifically on the back and the femoral arteries toward the lower legs. What this would do is that they would be able to be slid into place into the Kevlar jacket per se, in order to protect the soldier better. And then in addition, this is flexible protection. This can be used for any light fighter, for any MOS. Even our lightest infantry units can use this. It only adds about 15 pounds onto the ruck, and in the case of survival, that 15 pounds is very well worth it. So moving into our breakdown of our layers, what we have is basically 2 sections. We have the areas without the plates and the areas with the plates. Starting with the without plates, basically what you have is a woven Kevlar and nylon basically weave that balances strength with flexibility. What this allows is that it sandwiches something known as sorbothane, which is a polymer. This is extremely good at absorbing kinetic energy. What this does is that when that shrapnel penetrates the Kevlar, up to 95% of that kinetic energy is removed from that shrapnel round. And then with the plate involved, it becomes only stronger because there's yet another layer of the Kevlar weave that serves as a pocket, but also as an additional layer to protect that soft armor plating, similar to the MSV. Basically what this produces, in addition to the sappy plates of the body armor, is providing more than enough coverage to slow down any significant shrapnel, especially in those areas where protection is vital. So gentlemen, I have a question for you. Are you ready to protect your nation's greatest resource? Thank you.
Judges? So you started with 15 pounds. That doesn't add much weight to the ruck.
Right.
So just so I understand, the way it's shown, obviously that mannequin doesn't have a ruck on.
Correct.
Is it supposed to be employed while you're wearing your ruck, or do you just transport it on your ruck? How does that
transport on your ruck, and then possibly in
So it can be worn on your kit with using the webbing on your MSVs, or as the lieutenant said, on your ruck as well. So it can be in place in numerous situations.
So the 15 pounds, is that with the soft armor?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So without that,
essentially the chicken vest, it would be closer probably to about 7 pounds. Without what I'm talking about in the MSV is the tier 1 which is that very soft plating, which can stop a 9mm. So it's something significant. It's nothing to scoff at. It's not a sappy plate, but it definitely helps. In addition to the sorbothane.
It's important to know that you can still fold it up with those soft plates inside of it.
Right. They would essentially look like bedrolls if they were attached to the MOLLE system, and they could even have some sort of MOLLE integrated onto it so it could hook onto the rug.
You don't have anything like this already commercially available?
Not that we're aware of, sir.
Other questions, judges?
So, I mean, you're adding poncho but with Kevlar. Why hasn't it been done before? Or why do you think it hasn't been done before?
I think part of the reason is this is an emerging threat, and so we're having to assess this for the first time. And yes, I think that cost is always going to be something that's a turnoff, but I don't think cost should be prioritized over the safety of our soldiers. Because some of these materials are pretty expensive. The sorbothane is actually known to be used in things such as high level inserts for shoes and whatnot, but it can get expensive, but it's not prohibitively expensive. It's also important to note that all of these materials are readily accessible. We use Kevlar all the time. The MFV plates, it would essentially be the exact same stuff as the chicken vest, just in a larger system. And then the sorbothane is commercially available.
And then speaking of cost, by rough calculations that we did do, like we said, it was mentioned earlier, it was about $2,000. About $1,000 of that is the Kevlar, and then the other $1,000 is the sorbothane. So in total, it's adding about $2,000 to your kit.
However, if this was purchased in bulk, that number would likely go down.
Okay, thank you, team. Time for the RADs. How are you?
In the ever-evolving realm of military defense, efficient communication and rapid response are critical factors in maintaining superiority. Conventional antenna deployment systems often fall short, plagued by prolonged setup times, logistical complexities, and limited adaptability to dynamic terrains. These challenges hinder the military's ability to receive crucial data swiftly, especially when engaging jam-resistant enemy aircraft. Enter our game-changing solution, the Rapid Antenna Deployment System, specially crafted for seamless integration with the Sentinel radar. Engineered to revolutionize communication infrastructure, this innovative system ensures lightning-fast deployment, adaptability to any terrain, and minimal exposure. Elevate your defense capabilities with a swift, jam-resistant communication link, providing your crews the edge needed to engage and neutralize threats effectively. Welcome to the future of defense deployment.
Judge,
gentlemen, welcome. We're Team RADS. We're a group of soldiers and engineers that, through our interviews with maneuver commanders and subject matter experts in the field of air defense, identified a problem. And that problem was the need to streamline the transmission of data in contested environments. As commanders, you understand the need to constantly be monitoring the battle space, specifically the airspace above your maneuver elements. The key to a lot of that monitoring of the airspace is the Sentinel radar. The Sentinel radar's primary non-organic antenna is the OE254, which, though it is fine for normal deployment in a non-dynamic battle space with minimal terrain, there are issues when it comes to when a unit like Sentinel radar needs to pick up because they're being faced with IDF. And that blackout time where there's no data being sent can be pivotal to whether or not battles are won or lost. And those flaws are something that we kept in mind as we were designing our product.
In light of the challenges modern units face today, we have developed these design requirements to rapidly deployable, lightweight and mobile, signal jamming prevention, a much larger range, and pre-made or commercially available materials.
So using these design requirements, we were able to consider 3 different solutions. So the first solution on the left is changing or modifying an existing OD254 and changing it into a telescopic collapsible design, which makes it more compact and easier to set up. The second of the solutions is integrating the Sentinel radar and JPCP to each other, which isn't currently possible because the systems are incompatible. So this would be a very software oriented solution. And then the rapid antenna deployment system, which straps an omnidirectional or clamps an omnidirectional antenna onto a weather balloon and then sends it up into the air and connects it directly to the Sentinel radar. So out of these solutions, because it best fulfilled the design requirements, 1, it also was something that could be made with the materials available on hand, 2, and 3, it had potential for applications that were even beyond air defense. We considered the RADS. So this is a buoyancy antenna lightweight lifting outdoor operational node, or balloon. So it uses an 80-foot RF cable which connects directly to the Sentinel radar. Then a tie-down system which ties it down to the base or the vehicle. Then an IAA, integrated antenna adapter, which is what the antennas are attached to. And then finally the inflation source, which would typically be a helium tank.
The enhanced capabilities of the RADS, speed of implementation, it ensures a swift deployment in critical situations, overcoming terrain hindrances. It also ensures communication reliability in challenging terrains. Compatible with a wide range of radios, it's compatible and it leverages our existing communication and network capabilities. The rapid deployment is swift and it's used in critical and emergency situations.
Using the RAD system, units can immediately experience improvements in their communication range and consistency using materials that they already have on hand. So the pilot balloon, or PIBAL, is used by a lot of airborne units to get drop zone measurements and wind speed. Additionally, we have the OE254 cone, which provides a multi-directional antenna, and the Whiskey 2 cable, which is the antenna cable. Using copious amounts of 100-mile-per-hour tape and 550 cord as a tie-down, we can bring the antenna to twice its original height, further increasing the range of the antenna. Units can begin to practice with that system to get their deployment time down to 5 minutes, but in the future, we hope to make a more novel product in which the antenna is integrated into a clamp to hold the balloon in place. This will greatly decrease the weight of the antenna, which will allow for a smaller balloon, which takes less time to inflate, and needs a smaller inflation tank. Additionally, we hope to develop a vehicle tie-down clamping bracket, and we also look into making auto-spooling RF cables and tie-down cables. And finally, we hope to extend the RF cable to the maximum height allowable in the airspace to allow for the maximum range.
And for our immediate solution, we decided it would be unwise to use any parts that would be considered special or very hard to come by. So for our immediate solution, it utilizes all equipment that's on most units of MTO, and in addition to common packing list items such as like 100-mile-per-hour tape and the 550 cord. Now, for our future production, we decided to use a production line will help improve assembly time and increase reliability. This can also be further cut and increased with portable mass production through injection molding. And using lightweight and cost-effective aluminum parts, we can create an antenna adapter instead of using the OE254 cone. Now, for the vehicle-specific tie-down brackets, we can distribute that through Class 9 part to expedite giving it to units, not field. Now, for the longer-lasting balloon, we're going to be using chloroplane, which is a rubbery and yet durable type of material, which is cheap and can be used to shrink or reduce the amount of helium needed. And speaking of the helium, we will be using a helium tank, which can be reusable and refilled when it is manufactured.
As we move towards a peer-to-peer battle space, we can't allow out-of-date communication equipment to determine whether or not our communications are our superpower or a detriment. And that's what we hope to do. Thank you.
Judges, questions for Team Rads?
So, wind speed. So, how much wind is too much wind for this to?
So before we are able to do the full rollout with the current, it basically depends on our ability to bracket it to the ground. But because of how large the balloon is, I guess I don't know the exact wind speed, but we feel comfortable that unless situationally dependent, we feel comfortable that it'd be able to operate in anything below like 20 miles per hour, I would say.
You mentioned helium tank. How big?
So with the initial product, it would be a normal size helium tank about this high. But as we diminish the weight of the components like the antenna, we'd be able to get something smaller to about half that size.
So you fill the balloon up with helium. How long can it operate?
With the improved clamp, we hope to be able to keep it up there for at least a week. With the existing technology, it should last about as long as a typical weather balloon, which is around several days, like 3 or 4 days.
Then are you able to recover the helium from the balloon if you need to collapse it, move to another position?
That's something we'd have to look into developing. There's nothing yet as far as it goes.
We kind of touched on the ability to potentially use outside of the Sentinel radar. To me, this could be very applicable to units that can't potentially get a connection but need a right now solution to getting something over that hill to get communications back, pull it down, and then jump. I feel like that's a next step product once we get it to be more compact.
Please don't tell me that's the color.
No.
We will make sure that the final product is transparent, so it is harder to detect by enemies.
We also talked about the potential use of camo based on the terrain that we're involved in. Adding netting to balloons is a totally usable thing, and it actually helps to keep it from popping when you're able to strap it to the net. So the adding of a camo net is no issue depending on terrain.
So we say that balloon goes up, tether gets cut, balloon starts floating away. Is there some sort of destruction device on that, or that anything sensitive on that?
So that's kind of the point of the advance. That's why we want to move away from using the OE cone, because that is something that is considered a piece of SI. So with the smaller piece, it'd be able to essentially be something that obviously dependent whether or not we care or not whether it goes. But if we did need to look into destruction, we absolutely could, because it is connected by two different cords, just a break off essentially.
Maybe one more if anybody has one. No? All right. Thank you, Team Reds. All right, Team Fletchling. Okay. We'll take it. Be ready.
That's the goal. So I can't do COVID. So COVID, I'm looking at 3 jobs because I couldn't not work. It's not. I was realized. So yeah, this part. I'd always had it all in this or I don't want to get over there. But this timeline has worked out. Just put it up. Drop the went into the schoolhouse up in Fort Sill and I was savvy.
Just while we're in the middle of a pause here, just as a reminder, this is the last team. You'll stay here. There'll be a survey that I think you click a QR code and you'll take a survey. You actually get to vote on some People's Choice Awards of each other. So you'll get a chance to do that. The judges will, excuse ourselves to the next room and then we'll get started. And we'll be back in here in just 10 or 15 minutes and we'll start with the award. And then after that, it is going to be very important, because we are on winter break, it's going to be very important that all of us do a great job of getting the rooms we've been in cleaned up. So if you were in any of the breakout rooms, please make sure to go check on those. This room, any of your stuff, just make sure you get it. Computers, cords, electronics, anything you leave, I keep and sell on eBay. It's good for me, it's bad for you, okay? All right, Team Fleshling.
Gentlemen, Team Fleshling introduces you to the Tortoise Mountain.
We had a very stark reminder today of the dangers that American soldiers face on a daily basis in Iraq. It occurred as ABC's Chris Cuomo.
So the problem that we introduced to you today is with the Integrated Tactical Network, or ITN. So what this is with older vehicles, we tend to have a problem with the primary power system in our older vehicles. The vehicle on the slide that we have here is a Humvee, as most of y'all know. We have several other older vehicles, but this is probably one of the more common ones that the Army is going to have for a while, right? And so the biggest piece of this that y'all want to take away is that the ITN cannot be fully supported by just the primary vehicle batteries in these Humvees. All right, so let's define what integrated actually means for us, right? So the official definition is the active process of combining two things so that they work together, right? So we have integration in two different capacities. So we have integration at all levels of not only the Department of Defense, but also in the United States Army, all the way from the Pentagon, all the way down to your company level C2 nodes. And then also it's within the power systems and the communication systems of singular vehicles being working together as well.
Okay, so for ITN, the ITN is an integrated tactical network. It includes a radio, AN PRT 162/163. It also contains a JBCP, which is basically a computer which serves as navigation and sending reports, which you leaders go through, I'm sure. It also includes a MUOS, which is a mobile user objective system. Lastly, it includes a WinTag, which is basically an Android computer, essentially.
So there's 5 different designs we got from our interviews. One of them was the ease of maintaining, so we needed to find a way to make time be more efficient, so we need to find a way for it to dismount and mount back in. Another thing we needed was a stable mounting system. So it's going to be a type of power generator that will be mounted onto the Humvee, so it could be another power source to power on the ITN. So it could be properly mounted, so it could not fall off and stay intact when it's in a rollover. Another thing is heat resistance, because the generator is going to provide a lot of heat, so we need some type of mount that will sustain that type of high heat. Another thing is environmental protection, since it's going to be in the outside, it's going to be in Arizona in high temperatures, or in North Carolina where it will be super cold. Lastly is quantitative data. So we need some type of generator that will sustain a lot of power for the ITN, since the ITN will have a lot of communications being used. So we need voltage, we need power, we need also something that will be lightweight so it doesn't pass the total capacity of the Humvee.
All right, so we had a lot of opportunity to talk with various professionals about the ITN system, so more specifically people who have interacted with and worked with the ITNs themselves. Some of the concerns that they were talking about were that the older vehicles, more so the Humvees, weren't really able to fully support the new ITN system. The Humvee also does have a certain payload of 4,400 pounds, which does affect the suspension system, and it can also limit the amount of cargo that is placed into those specific Humvees. The batteries do die, so once the batteries do die from those radios have to be taken out, new batteries inserted, and which forces the radios to lose their fill, and they would need to have composite fill into those radios again. And lastly, the wiring, we can't touch those specific wires that are attached to those ITN systems due to warranty issues, and then the ITNs require a minimum of 24 volts to run.
Now, as you're taking a look at these at this slide, you can see that we narrowed down our problem to 3 different electrical components. But the thing is, we can't keep fixing these things and upgrading them, so we have to think of a way around that. And what we came up with is providing an external way to provide power, which is also an electrical solution itself. And that brings us to how we accommodated the communication infrastructure of tomorrow with the power infrastructure that we can provide today.
Our Fight Tonight solution, we call it the turquoise mount. The electrical solution to this is to have a 3 kilowatt generator, the MEP831A, and also a mechanical solution, which is a permanent railing system that will be installed onto the bed of the Humvee, so that allows the generator to be mounted on top of it. It takes advantage, the rail system takes advantage of the mechanical advantage of the wheel, like so. This will be put inside the rail right here, and the clearance right here will stop the generator from moving left and right. To provide a more complete picture, this is the generator, and these are the rails. Judges, if you take a look, please. There are bumps on this that represents the wheel of the railing system. Each one of these wheels is a component of right here. So the generator will just slide on like this, because there are sled-like structures on the bottom of the generator that can just slide on with ease onto the bed of the Humvee using the railing system. This final solution satisfies all 5 of our design requirements. It's heat resistant because it's a metal. The generator itself has a casing on the outside, prevents it against rain, moisture, dust, you name it. It fits well, which is one of our size constraints. The length of the railing and the size of the generator fits really well into the bed of the Humvee. The generator has a 24-volt battery, which provides enough power to sustain the ITN's functionalities. And it's very easy to maintain because it only takes 2 soldiers to slide off the generator from the rails.
Now, while we were developing our solution, we came up with 2 ideas, one for fighting tonight and one for fighting tomorrow. For fighting tonight, we came up with a simple litter mount setup with a generator that's available that you can get your hands on quite easy. And for our next solution, we came up with something that we could use to fight tomorrow, which is to use an actual custom-made mount that resurfaces the APUs that are being used currently as well, with like tanks, for example. And we kind of took the best of both ideas and made one even greater idea by combining the mount that we were able to make with the idea of generators, so that we could account for different sort of things, like balancing the pros and cons, such as shifting of center of mass because of the heavier APUs versus the lighter generators, that sort of thing. And I'll spare you the technical details in the interest of time. the impact of this sort of solution is basically if you can address the power situation, you can then accommodate for even more complex and increasingly complicated power communication infrastructure that goes beyond line of sight. And if you do that, you can save lives because now you don't have these battery fires that keep happening because of the power draw situation that's coming from these upgraded communication systems. And you can also save the time of mechanics and boots on ground that have to deal with the continuing issues of reservicing these batteries over and over by just simply sidelining the task with an external battery source, the same way you would for a phone. That's all we have for now. We'll be taking questions.
Okay, judges.
So is this going to take the place of cargo at one of those companies?
Yes, sir.
So what are you doing with the cargo that was supposed to go in that Humvee?
There's a lot of space in the back seat, and if we go back to the picture with the Humvee in the bottom right corner, one of the cons about this design is sacrificing space for power. So even though the generator doesn't take up all of the space, but there will still be some gaps around the generator to put stuff. And in the back seat of the vehicle, it's very spacious, and the seats can be removed as well. We can put ammunitions, all kinds of stuff, reallocate the stuff in the back seat, and then save the back bed for the power, for the IT. In some situations, we would value communication over offensive power.
Sure, so the primary position that we're working with is for your command nodes. So as we saw from the integration slide, you're communicating between every echelon between a company level all the way up to the Pentagon with the ITN network. So because of that, this is primarily going to be for your C2 nodes, your talks, your tags, stuff like that are going to require a non-break in your communications. In addition, this is just on a 4-door Humvee. If we had a 2-door Humvee, we'd have a lot more space as well, sir.
So the Army's in the midst of modernization. We're transitioning away from Humvees to JLTVs. So does this fit in the JLTV as well?
So the issue that we're noticing isn't with JLTVs. After we did all of our customer discovery, they were having non-issues at all with any JLTVs. In addition to that, JLTVs also have auxiliary batteries that can be used completely separately from the actual vehicle battery, so that's not going to be an issue.
What did the fuel consumption look like on this generator?
So this specific generator, the MEP 831, is about a half a gallon an hour, and it holds up to 4 gallons.
Total runtime of 8 hours, but it requires soldier efforts to refuel. You have to stop, get the fuel can, and it requires the soldier's efforts to refuel. But on a full tank, it will operate for 8 hours straight.
What kind of signatures in that generator a bit?
Yes, sir. What we could do as well is to have a sort of a cover on the bed of the truck to shield this heat signature that we can detect from above, like what some just civilian pickup trucks have. It's like a cover on the back bed. That, at a lot of these units, there are local welding shops, and mechanics can quickly weld a cover and make the rails as well to be present, so to hide the heat signature.
In addition, the heat signature of these generators is going to be a lot smaller than if you were going to run your Humvees the entire time, and you'd be not only reducing the heat signature from the whole vehicle just to the generator, but you would also be reducing the sound profile as well as the fuel consumption.
Is there any consideration about mounting that generator externally, either on the tailgate or the back of the truck or the top of the truck as opposed to the bed?
Sir, so the biggest consideration why we put it inside the bed instead of anywhere else is one, the size. It fits perfectly whenever it's widthways, and there's still a significant amount of room in the bed to work with for extra cargo. But in addition to that is your load plans. So whenever you're talking about rollover drills and stuff like that we always hammer,
if we have a load plane and this is locked into this rail system, it's not going anywhere.
We considered loading the generator on top of the Humvee, but then there's another issue. It's much harder to hide the heat signature if it's right on top of the Humvee. We also considered another option, which we load the generator into the backseat by removing the backseat first and then putting the backseat. But then that sacrifices manpower because on some missions, soldiers might want to sit in the backseat. So in the bed is where we decided would be the best option for the next design.
Okay, one more quick one if we have it. Okay, thank you, team. Okay, students, Professor Fred's going to put the code up here. You can start voting or start filling out the survey. We showcase prototypes in our office down the other end of 4. So before we start the awards, let me say again how much I appreciate you being here. I don't know how you feel about your effort. I feel exceedingly great about your efforts. I thought you guys did a hell of a job, and you should give yourself a round of applause. Teams to remain nameless, but at least 2 teams, the last time I saw them present, before they actually presented in the finals, they needed to shave off 30% off their time. And they did. And that's not easy to make those kind of changes. Clearly a number of you managed through your nerves, right? It happens. It's what happens. And that's what life's all about, folks. It throws you curveballs. You deal with it. You did a great job. But more importantly, the thing that I'm most proud about all 7 teams is the way that you came together as a team. I just can't. I mean, I've had the pleasure of being in a lot of very senior executive roles. It is the team that makes it happen, right? Especially in a setting like this where no one team member had all the answers. Your mentor didn't have all the answers, right? Because if nothing else, you're at the mercy of these 5 knuckleheads. Where are they going to go, right? The questions they ask. What is that? Okay, let's start with our People's Choice Awards, as voted on by you, except one, which is decided by us. The first one, and soldiers. For the People's Choice Award, I'd just like the team to stand up and let's give you a round of applause. For the soldiers, you get nothing other than the applause. Life is what it is. For the students, you will have $25 each deposited into your student account. Okay, for the People's Choice Awards. The first one, most feasible solution. So of the 7 solutions we saw, the most feasible solution as decided by you guys was RF times. RF times, please stand. I have no idea what major solution was most feasible, but I'm sure it was. Okay, best prototype. This had to be a tough call. Best prototype, Killian Innovations. I think it had to do with your sewing skills. That bad boy was laid out on the floor. I saw that. That's a lot of work. Also, just so you judges will know, one of the things that's humorous, this was standing in the hall for a while. We had to put this in the hall because we're thinking that somebody's going to walk in this in the middle of the night. This is going to scare somebody to death. So, best video. Best video. Also, Killian Innovations. I have to slow down because I'm waiting on my lovely assistant to get back with some props that we didn't, or props, the checks. Best presentation, so best overall presentation. Triple Delta. Great job. Okay, the last award, and again, all these 5 People's Choice Awards, students, you'll see a $25 credit show up in your student account. Best teamwork as decided by the Malloy team. This is a hard one. And this is some combination of the way you work together, some combination of the way you got better at working together, combined with the way that you kind of manage through adversity, like even through today as you were practicing your presentation. Tough choice by our team, but the winner of the Best Teamwork Award for this session is Chameleon. Team Chameleon. All right. Any minute she's going to be here. I just know she is. Well, let me say this first of all. We had a tie for third place. Third place financial award is $1,500. We're not going to divide that in half and give it to the two teams. We're going to give both teams $1,500. And again, it'll be divided by the students. All your awards are put into your student accounts. And the way I understand that works is if you don't have any negative balance in your account, then you can draw the money out the next day. If you have a negative balance, the university is a lot of things. One is stupid is not one of them, so they're going to net that out of it, I assure you. So for these prizes, we'd like you to come up, and we're going to, the entire team to come up with your mentor, and we're going to give you these awards. The first third place team is Killing Innovation. And I was wrong. Well, for these soldiers, you get a third place 3D printed thing. So, actually, soldiers, please take yours. Please take yours. And let's stand right up here, and then we'll, please take yours. Students, you won't have one. Everybody stand behind the check. Is that right? Yes. Yeah, students right in the middle. Good. Mentor on the end. Mentor on the end. Mentor right behind it. How's that? Check straight. Oh yeah, hold those up so they can see your third place. Bragging rights.
Alright, look over here. 1, 2, 3. Wonderful.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. For the second third place team, we're going to owe you. Oh, give those back. Give those back. We need those for the photos. We'll give them back to you in just a minute. We're gonna owe you these because we didn't know we were gonna have a tie. We got 4 of them? Good. The second third place team, check my math here. My memory mainly. Fletching. Soldiers, grab your third place prize. There's only 3 of you. Okay. Yeah. So we're only 3 short. Students right here in the middle. Students in the middle. Mentor on that end. All right. Students get in the middle of the check. Everybody's got one. All right.
And squeeze it a little bit if you don't mind. And roll it.
Yeah.
Alright, 1, 2, 3.
Congratulations, team. Okay. All right. Second place winner, December 23 Phantom event. Triple Delta, come on up. Soldiers, grab your second place. Mentor on the other end. Great job. Don't break the first place. All right. Let's see. So students in the middle. Yep. Y'all are holding it. What's be on this end down here?
1, 2, 3.
Thank you. All right, first place winner, 2023 Phantom event, $5,000 split among a very small number of students. RF Times. Congratulations. All right, grab your first place. Okay, students right here in the middle. Students in the middle, close together, close together. So we only had 3 soldiers? Okay. 2 students, all right. Wow.
We're small.
Yeah. Don't leave. Don't leave. The most coveted prize we have. No, you know you're not. The most coveted prize we have is not about teamwork. It's not about innovation. It's about mentorship. One of the most important things in life, a skill that you should all learn. These gentlemen that are at the rank of colonel, you didn't get there without it. We like to award our first place mentor with the first place mentor award. With his team.
Oh, I'll go around.
Wait, let's put him in the middle. He needs to be in the middle now. This is that logo.
And that maroon looks good with that cowboy orange.
What is that?
Okay, someone wasn't looking. Go ahead.
We can Photoshop it out.
Yeah, we gotta Photoshop that shirt.
Yeah.
All right.
Or no, just make him show the family.
All right, thank you. Congratulations. Okay, third place. We owe you some of these. I don't know how we're gonna handle that, but you can send home with these, and so we're at the point now where, please say thank you to all the judges before you leave. Walk up and say thank you to them. Shake their hands, and then get all your gear. Get all your gear. Help us get the place cleaned up from both your gear, any trash. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a very blessed Christmas, and we hope to see you again sometime soon. Thanks, everybody. What? For the first place team? If you finished in first, second, third, or third, before you leave, before you clean up, you're going to come see this sweet young lady here, Amber, and she's going to do a very quick interview with you. Am I close to right? Yes, that's the deal. So Amber right here. Okay, thanks. Come say thank you to the judges.